Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. Won't you share with a friend or two? Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. And many more. I've sent you the link already, so I'm sending it to you again. Somebody's broadcast, if you can let me know that you actually received it, okay? Good morning to those of you who are coming in, and welcome to Daring Dialogues. I'm your host today, Shantae Charles. My broadcast is always going to be set to subscribers only mode because we have lots of people in the stratosphere of the interwebs that can't follow directions and don't know how to behave and control themselves. So, because of that, we are always going to be on subscriber mode. All right. So, welcome to the channel. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed, who have shared, who have clicked the bell for notifications, and all of those good things. All right. Perfect. So, as we're slowly ending Women's History Month. I want to point out some reads to you by women authors that I feel like would be of interest to you. The first book is called Live Nourished. We're going to be getting into this in this season very soon. Make Peace with Food, Banish Body Shame, and Reclaim Joy. This is by a certified RN, RDN, a registered dietitian nutritionist who calls herself an all foods fit dietitian. And so we're going to be looking at how to improve our lives holistically with this book. We'll be reading this on our Get Free Fridays. We'll be starting in the month of April. All right. Another one that just came out. As a matter of fact, she had a book signing recently here in the DC area. Her name is Alencia Johnson. And the book is Flip the Tables, the Everyday Disruptor's Guide to Finding Courage and Making Change. So she's going to be talking about strategies and ways to use your unique gifts, overcome obstacles, align with your purpose, and bold action. And she'll be talking about the steps on how you can do that and make change in the world. A young woman that I have been following probably for about a year online. She is the creator of The Broke Black Girl. You can find her on Facebook. And this is her new work that came out of how she moved beyond broke. And so it's a little bit of how to with a little bit of her personal journey. Again, the book is called Moving Beyond Broke, The Power of Perseverance in Personal Finance. And again, we're probably going to be reading this on Fridays in the month of April, and we'll be looking at some of her personal finance tips. I have been, like I said, following her for about over a year now, and I really like what she has to say about personal finance, how she makes it very easy for people to start moving beyond broke. And that's because she's done it herself. All right. This one I picked up this past weekend. I have a lot of books on Harriet Tubman just because I've really gotten into studying her as of late. But this is actually coming from her great grandniece. Um, and so this is Harriet Tubman. This is one of the latest works that's out about her. So if you are a student of Harriet Tubman, you might want to grab this book, From her roots in Ghana to her legacy on the Eastern Shore. This is a new work. Military Harriet Tubman, military scout and tenacious visionary. All right. And the last one. We refuse. We've all been talking about how to get free, how to stay free, how to resist the current tyrannical things that are happening in our government. And this is a good place because a lot of people don't realize how much resistance has gone on and has taken place. And if you want to get a start on that, check this out. We refuse a forceful history of Black resistance. All right. So we can stop sharing the same two or three stories, right? And we can dive in and learn a little bit more about Black resistance all across the United States in particular. All right. Let's go into our I like to call them our devotionals, our affirmations, our meditations, readings for this morning before we get into our main read. This one is coming from Daily Motivations for African American Success by Dennis Kimbrough. As you can see, I am wearing this book out. I'm going to back up. I am going to read today, but I am going to back up to one that I thought was really good. And this one is coming from May 21st. Awaken the Giant Within. Will Smith had this to say. Living in Hollywood can give you a false sense of reality. I try to stay in touch with my inner feelings. That's what's really going on. A number of years ago, a poor farmer discovered oil in his backyard. Though he was once poverty stricken, the discovery of oil made him quite wealthy. One of the first things he purchased was with his newfound wealth was a new car, a Mercedes Benz. He wanted everyone in town to notice his car. So when driving through town, he turned to the left and right to speak to everyone in sight. As a matter of fact, he often turned completely around to speak to folks behind him. Yet he never had an accident while driving. Why not? The reason is simple. Directly in front of that shiny new car were two horses pulling it. Local mechanics said there was nothing wrong with the car's engine. The old man had simply never learned how to insert the key and turn on the ignition. Underneath the hood of that luxury car were hundreds of horses, highly engineered horsepower, ready, willing, and raring to go. But the confused farmer was only using the horses on the outside. It was the technology that he knew. Closer to home, many people make the mistake of searching in their external world to find horsepower or the answers to their problems when they should look under the hood, within themselves. You will not find success or happiness in your external world, but you will always find them within. How great we all could be, singer and songwriter Valerie Simpson told a group of children, if we would only search within and release our hidden power. Turn inward today and find your true greatness. Go forth in life with the realization that the kingdom lies within. Isn't that a mess? Can you imagine? I could just picture that. He didn't realize that he had greater power within his vehicle than he did with the two horses pulling the car. Selah. Today's topic is too legit to quit. And some of you know that's probably one of my favorite catchphrases to say about a lot of stuff. Isaiah Thomas, basketball great, said this: I've always believed no matter how many shots I miss, I'm going to make the next one. Every adversity, every failure, and every unpleasant experience carries with it the seed of an equivalent benefit that may prove a blessing in disguise. Failure and defeat are the common language that nature uses to speak to us and bring us under a spirit of humility so that we may acquire wisdom and understanding. A wise man once said that it would be impossible to live with a person who had never failed or been defeated in any of their endeavors. This same man also discovered that people achieve success in almost exact proportion to the extent to which they meet and master adversity and defeat. He made another important discovery that the truly great achievements were attained by men and women past the age of 50. He expressed that the most productive years were actually between 60 and 70 years old. You too can ride the success beam by learning to discover and build on the seed of an equivalent benefit in each of your setbacks. Since defeat in some form inevitably overtakes each of us at one time or another, it's obvious that our Creator intends us to gain strength, understanding, and wisdom through our struggle and not stay stuck. Adversity and defeat cause you to develop your wits and go forward. It is often difficult for us to recognize the equivalent benefit in our adversity, while we are still suffering from the wounds. But time will disclose the benefits to those who sincerely search and believe they will find them. Some of our greatest achievements are born out of our perseverance. And I think the thing that stuck out to me with this reading is the fact that at every point or any turn in life, at some point you are going to meet adversity or you're going to meet defeat. And how you handle those things will determine how you move in the future. So I thought about visualizing literally meeting adversity and defeat and recognizing that when they show up, I have to learn from it, right? And I have to master whatever that lesson is that's teaching me something. Um, I will be honest with you. There were years of my life where I was meeting adversity and defeat, and I was not mastering it at all. Um, as a matter of fact, I had some years where I was losing, and I was like, God, what is going on here? Why does it feel like I'm going through loss after loss after loss after loss? And just when I didn't think I could lose anything else, I lost something else. And so for years, it felt like I was just, as the writer says here, I was meeting adversity, right? I was meeting defeat, but I wasn't mastering them. And I was in my prayer time at one point and I asked God, I said, why does it feel like I'm going in circles with this particular thing? Like it would show up, the same issue would show up with different people. And you know what my creator told me? He said, that's because it's you. And some of us don't want to admit that. If the same thing keeps showing up, but it's different people, it's you. And so there was things that I had to master about myself so the same thing wouldn't keep showing up through different people. Whether that was betrayal, whether that was mismanagement, whatever it was, it kept showing up, but it was different people bringing me the same thing. Sometimes it can be envy or jealousy, and you start seeing, you start learning how to spot the thing that's coming at you, right? But it can feel like it's in a cycle because you feel like, okay, I recognize the signs of this, I see it coming, but I feel like I'm not doing the thing I need to do in order to stop it, or I'm not doing the thing I need to do in order to prevent it. And so I kept going in cycles with some of the same things coming through different people until I said, okay, how do I break this cycle? I see it coming. How do I break it? If I realize it's me, then that means I need to do something different when I'm faced with the adversity. I need to do something different when I am faced with the defeat. So I started doing different things. I started not responding the same way. I started adjusting my schedule. I started telling people no. I started uninviting myself to hazing events and hazing experiences. That's how I changed it. Because as my creator said to me, if you're seeing the same thing repeat over and over again, but it's coming through different people, that means you have to do something different. You have to pull yourself out of the flow of whatever's coming. And so that's what I did. And that's how I got out of it. Because seasons, what? Seasons show up every year at the same time, don't they? Just about. That's why they call seasons. So when you see the season of betrayal show up and you see who it's coming through, you have the power to remove yourself out of it. The season gonna come, but you don't have to be standing in it. You ever heard of getting on a plane and going somewhere sunny for the winter? People do it all the time. hmm Now apply that to your life. There are some people who don't hang around for the winter. They get on a plane and they go somewhere else so they don't experience that winter. And sometimes we feel like we have to sit in the middle of things and just experience what's coming at us rather than saying, I have the power to move and to shift my own self for my own well being. All right. I hope that helps somebody today because it sure helped me. And once I did that, once I started removing the factors that I could control, then guess what? My connections changed. My events changed. My experiences changed. My opportunities changed. Things started opening for me, right? When I moved myself out of the realm of the repetitive cycle. So again, when you see it coming, because some of you can see it, you're like, oh, I recognize this. I've seen this before. I've heard this before. People have told me this before. And once they say this to me, all stuff goes downhill. Those are your clues. Those are your signals. Okay. And some of us have not been paying attention, or we've been ignoring it, or we've been saying, oh, this person is so nice to me. They wouldn't do that to me. Yes, they absolutely would once you see and know what it is. I'll tell you one of mine. Here is a automatic key phrase for me that lets me know my relationship with the person is about to go sour or down south or south. I envy you. I'm like, have you looked at my life? It's not much to envy. It really isn't. I just like to be at peace and I do the things that bring me peace. That's it. I've learned to do the things that bring me peace. But when I hear that phrase, that lets me know this relationship is not going to last too much longer because you can't really be in full relationship with people that envy you. Let me take a sip. I need somebody to sit with that for a moment. You cannot be in a full relationship with people that envy you. Okay, I'm going to move to the next book. Our next read, Meditations for Black Women. Let me make sure I show you the cover here. That's the cover. As I said, I'm really enjoying this. It has 75 mindful reflections in here. Today's reflection, create opportunities for yourself. This was one of the things that helped to move me out of a cycle of repeating defeat. Create opportunities for yourself. You don't see it, create it. You got the idea for it, but you don't see anybody doing it, do it. Trademark it, slogan mark it, copyright it, but do it. Madam C.J. Walker had this to say. She was an American entrepreneur, philanthropist, activist. Don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come. Get up and make them. One of the reasons why Black women as entrepreneurs are the fastest growing demographic of new entrepreneurs is because of this right here, what she just said. Don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come. Get up and make them. Why do Black women feel compelled to get up and make opportunity? Because many times, even though we are the most educated demographic, also, we are also the most suppressed demographic. You would think that people would want bright, smart, intelligent women leading their organizations. You would think, right? But oftentimes that opportunity gets suppressed. So what do Black women do? They say, nobody's opening a door for me or a window. Nobody's opening anything for me, not a back door, not a side door, not a window, not a doggy door. Nobody's opening it. But I have this idea and I believe in it and I believe in myself and I think it can work. So let's get up and make it happen. Let me go and find out what it takes for me to start this thing. And they get started. Why? Because if I wait for you to decide that I'm worthy, when I already know I have what it takes to get it done, I have the education, I have the experience, and you are going to decide 25 to 40 to 50 years later that, oh, now we're ready to use Black women for this. No, we're 25 years into our own business at that point. Yep. Meditation. I create opportunities for myself. I don't wait for them. Reflection. Creating opportunities for yourself as a Black woman is how you push back against a society that desires to dictate your progress and refuse you access to other avenues for growth and success. Well, she's hard to manage. She doesn't want to be led by anybody. No, oftentimes, right? When Black women see that you are refusing them access, when you are suppressing progress, when you are having them to train people who know less than they do, and then you set that person over them, Black people just look, Black women especially just look around and say, this doesn't make sense. And we have seen this historically over and over and over again. If someone is going to place a barrier between you and your goals, then it is your right to walk, run, or jump around the obstacle and find a different path to your desired end result. Being able to create opportunities for yourself is an ancestral right. You descend from individuals who had to be inventive with how they lived their lives. Whether they were enslaved or lacked adequate resources, our ancestors were ingenious enough to overcome their limited means to do things like provide for their families or simply eat. Nevertheless, we are now in the 21st century where finding opportunities is a bit more accessible, but still not that easy to do. And even in all of the obstacles that have been in front of us historically, we now have people saying, oh, 2% of business owning is too much. We've got to scale things back and roll some things back and try to bring some things back to make it hard again. That's what's happening now. Finding new paths to success requires a combination of self-determination, strategic thinking, risk-taking, and social support. You will have to invest in your education and skill development, which can look like getting another degree or learning something in a more cost-effective manner, like reading a book or taking an online course. The point is, refining your craft will help open doors to new opportunities. Advocating for yourself will be a crucial part of your strategy. This can be through networking with others or promoting yourself in spaces like the internet. Ultimately, embrace going outside your comfort zone. This will help you navigate the challenges of carving out paths to success in your chosen endeavors. Take action. Brainstorm ways you can create new opportunities for yourself to reach your goals. I'll tell you, I have been an educator for August will be 25 years. And during the pandemic, I had to make a choice. I had to decide between my personal health and continuing to be in a space that disregarded my personal health, because at the time, teachers were dying. I don't know, I haven't seen data on specifically on how many teachers died during the pandemic, because there was a segment of the population that insisted that no, we have to get these people back into buildings when it wasn't safe and when this was before vaccines were being made available to everyone. And there was a clarion call for educators across the country to return to those spaces. And many educators were given an ultimatum. You either return to the space with no vaccine available at the time, or you lost your job. And so during that time, a lot of educators had to make a decision. Some of them did retired early. Some of them went into the online sector and they never went back to a physical classroom unless they wanted to go back. And so because of that, many people, and not just educators, but many people during the pandemic made some, they had to make some life altering decisions. They had to make some professional shifts, right? They had to carve out new spaces in order to be able to make it through and beyond the pandemic. Well, we know we're still in the endemic part of it because it's not going anywhere. But I want you to think about how today have you had to carve a new place for yourself? How have you had to create opportunities that simply were not there? I could tell you the opportunities that I created for myself during the pandemic time, they were not there. But to this day, those opportunities continue on. They allow me to do the thing that I love, which is educating children globally, not just in one particular space. And so I'm going to encourage you, because I've gone through it myself. As the other writing said, meet adversity and meet defeat, but don't stop there at just meeting it. Do what you need to do to begin to master where you are. And as the writer here said, that mastery might take going back to school. It might take reading some books to get yourself out of whatever you're in. It might take you taking some online courses. Right now, every day I'm getting emails and messages about online courses. There's literally so many online courses for just about anything you can think of, and the majority of them are free. So I tell people, start with what you can get for free. If you feel like I don't have the money to just be taking all these courses, find the free online courses and begin there. Even Google has free online courses. Go look. Google itself offers free online courses if you're trying to change careers, if you're trying to learn about coding. There's a couple of different courses that they have, but start there. But one thing you can't do is you can't stay in the same place. Even if you are feeling today like you have been stuck and you can't move forward, I'm going to encourage you to think differently about where you are. All right. It is coming up on my talk back time, so I'm not going to get into the book that I intended to get into because I just started talking. So that's what I do. But we will come back hopefully on next Wednesday and we'll continue our talk in this book, Drama Free, A Guide to Managing Unhealthy Family Relationships. All right. It's the talk back time. So I am going to bring my talk back partner on. If you can go ahead and click on your link to connect. And we're going to chop it up about what we just talked about. Because really, I feel like today is Wednesday. We're talking really about your relationship with yourself, your relationship with what you've gone through, your relationship with adversity, your relationship with difficulty, your relationship with um, life, right? Because life happens, but you don't have to stay stuck. All right, and then I just pressed add, so hopefully it's going to add you on quickly. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Somehow, everything that we've been discussing lately always lead back to us doing us. Black folk doing black people right now. We're doing that. We're doing that thing, and we ain't allowing nobody to come into our spaces, especially if they're not one of us, and tell us what we need to do and what we should do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because that's how we got in the position that we're in right now.
And I wanted and I
So,
wanted to tell somebody at some point because we got our whole 30 minutes today.
oh, okay.
I wanted to tell someone at some point, I'm like, listen, what I was doing professionally, it was working for everybody but me.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because people were getting the benefit of my experience. They were getting my creativity. I was creating curriculum for other programs, right? Um, the last place I was at, I was nominated as Teacher of the Year. And I was glad that I didn't get the I made it to like the finals, but I was glad that I didn't win because I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I would have felt obligated to stay in that space, knowing that I was being called to something beyond where the space was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happens to us a lot of times. We feel obligated sometimes to stay in the structure or the confines of what people see us as. And it may be good and we may be successful there, but when you're being called to something more, that's when that strain happens. Um, and that strain can be your environment of people feeling like, but you're doing so well here, why you gotta go, right? Or that strain can be internal because you're like, I
Mm-hmm.
really like what I'm doing here. I really like the people, but I know that I have to do more than just this one thing. Um, and so, like I said, I've been in spaces where people have gotten the credit for things that I've done, and I've gotten no acknowledgement. I've helped create systems, I've done state trainings, all of that kind of stuff without people coming back to say, you know, I want to recognize what you have done in these arenas.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's been more of I'm getting the recognition. I am able to create systems that I can trademark myself. And I think that's been helpful for me to just see, yes, you were doing it here and you were doing it at this level, but here is a greater level that you're doing it on, and you're not just impacting one space. And I think for a lot of Black people, Black women who are multi talented or multi gifted, it can be very confining to only use a portion of who you are in a space.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, believe it or not, I really feel this. A lot of us are working in spaces at about 10 to 20% of our actual capacity of what we could do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so one of the things that has come out of this whole government shakeup is a lot of people realize, huh, okay, this is how the government feels about me.
Mm-hmm.
I was only doing 20% of what I was capable of. But if you want to release me into the wild to begin to move into that 100% capacity, when you come back to say, okay, we'll begrudgingly put you back in this spot, or we'll begrudgingly give you back this spot, you're gonna find a lot of people that say, I'm good.
Mhm.
I'm good.
Mhm.
And they're gonna be like, no, 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 but we want you to come back. No, 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 no. I'm good. I'm good.
Mhm.
And so what we're seeing is we're seeing Black people say, I'm good. And we're seeing people
Mhm.
lose their mind around Black people saying, no, for real, I'm good.
Mhm.
I'm good. Y'all go do, as Babyface said to that reporter, you go do that. You want to tear up the government? You go do that.
Mhm.
You want to have, group chats about war plans? You go do that. And as didn't we say this? I think we said this last week, that the removal of Black people out of these spaces is going to really reveal who's actually being the jackups.
Mhm.
You're not going to be able to pin it on Black people because
Mm-mm.
you're moving Black people out of the positions.
Mhm.
So the only person that's going to be holding the jackup bag are y'all. So you're not going to be
Mhm.
able to turn and say it was the DEI anything,
Mhm.
you know? So this is a time, again, this is a time for America to actually look in a mirror and see itself. Go ahead.
Mhm. Because DEI had nothing to do with war plans being leaked 2 hours before an attack actually took place.
Mm-hmm.
That was your
Mm-hmm.
boy that FIC 4547 appointed when he took
Mm-hmm.
qualified people down and replaced him with somebody that wasn't qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Hmm. You
And that's
remove
why I
this.
said,
You remove this black four-star general
mm-hmm.
that had been in the military for like 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
had all types of experience,
Mm-hmm.
and in his 40 years never made a mistake like that. And you place somebody that's got basically no experience in there.
He was in the
And what does
National
he
Guard.
do? He was in the
He
National
was in the
Guard.
National Guard.
Yeah. And what does he do? That wasn't DEI. That was reality. That was the mind. Now, don't get me wrong. We've had some great white minds in the military, but they had the experience.
Mm-hmm.
They had the experience. Miley admired a man. He was great at what he did, and I love the fact that he testified against. At the point at that time, it was 45. He
Mm-hmm.
testified against him. I
Mm-hmm.
admire that. Why? Because he cared about the country. He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
serving the president. He was serving the country, and that's what he stood on. But now we got somebody that is serving the president and white supremacy, and that's what happens. The
Absolutely,
least intelligent people running the country.
absolutely wild. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, every day, as someone said, every day there is a new outrage released. Every day there's a new outrage released. And I'm like, look, Black people have been outraged for hundreds of years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, y'all got to catch up.
Mm-hmm. What did
You
James
got to catch
Baldwin say?
up
What did James Baldwin say about being black and living in America?
to be relatively conscious.
Well, the other thing he said too
Is is
about
to be
being in a
angry.
state. Yeah,
Yeah. If
yeah.
you're conscious, what you see happening should make you angry.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing again, we have learned how to channel our anger. It's not that Black people are not angry. It's not that black people don't recognize what's going on in the world. It's not that black people are not shaking their head and thinking to themselves, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is going on, but we have learned how to, if you think about, I look at some of the stuff that is rolling out of our government, right, as wheelbarrows. If you've ever had an opportunity to jump wheelbarrows, right, you know they're going to keep coming.
Mm-hmm.
So we've just learned how to jump wheelbarrows. That's what we were doing. That's what we've been doing. We've learned how to jump wheelbarrows that roll at us and keep moving. It
Mm-hmm.
looks like dancing to some, but we're jumping wheelbarrows. That's what we're doing every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Black people have collectively decided hashtag it's above me now.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
above us. We can talk about it, we can discuss it, but the reality is it is above us. It's above 45, 47. He just don't realize it yet. It's above him too.
And that's the thing. They don't realize what's happening. They don't realize who's actually in control and allowing things to happen for a specific purpose that they ain't gonna like.
Mhm.
See, they think they're running things, they're ruining things, and they're being allowed to ruin things for this
Yes,
specific purpose.
yes. And
See,
so I had someone this morning, they tagged me on something that's happening with police and their family being threatened. And I said, well, have you filed a report? Let's talk about your basics of what you need to do. Have you filed a report? But that person is a police officer. That's not the question I asked you. I asked you,
mm-hmm,
have you done the basics? The basics is to file the report.
mm-hmm,
So why are you tagging me on social media if you haven't done the basics? The basics is to file a report. And if you feel like they're not going to receive your report, you go to another jurisdiction and file the report against them.
mm-hmm,
But you get the report filed. Have you contacted your local civil rights agencies? Have you secured or looked to secure a civil rights attorney who can help you navigate the legal process? Because we know right now all of the suspension of actions, right, from the Justice Department against police and looking into civil rights violations, we know that's happening, but you need somebody who can speak specifically to you legally about what you can do. Tagging me on social media is not going to help you personally.
mm-mm,
I appreciate you tagging me and making me aware of your situation, but what are your personal actionable steps? And I think that's what a lot of people kind of need to realize. There are local actionable steps you can take for things that are happening to you locally. You don't have to feel like you are going it alone. Find your local organizations and get involved.
mm-hmm,
Urban League, NAACP.
mm-hmm,
As much as people are like, oh, the NAACP ain't doing nothing. The NAACP has legal representatives that can help you start your process.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So they might not be able to do everything, right? But they can at least point you in the right direction. That's why these institutions have been around for over 100 years now. So don't feel like you have to invent the wheel. That's the wording I'm looking for. Don't feel like you have to invent the wheel. Go to
Right.
established organizations and get help. Hmm. The Urban League helped. I know my husband had some issues at one point where he dealt with some discrimination with jobs. The Urban League will help with that. The Urban League will help you to find a job. They'll point you in the right direction. They'll connect you with even like local temporary job services if you don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes when it comes to that making opportunity, creating opportunity, if you don't know where to start with your basic organizations that are right there in your community. Um, a lot of them right now are definitely facing some federal cuts, but many of them
Mm-hmm.
still get funding statewide. A lot of the stuff that we see happening with cuts, that is that is them trying to cut off federal funding, right, versus state funding.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these organizations are not disappearing. They're not all of them are not going belly up. Some of them don't even get federal funding. Some of them have not applied for federal funding because
Mm-hmm.
they don't want the federal people in their business, just to be
And
honest.
telling them what to do
So,
and giving them rules to go by.
right. So there are a lot of organizations that don't receive federal funding at all that are not being affected by the so-called federal funding cuts. But we know even with that, some of that has been paused by court
Mm-hmm.
ruling, even though we know these people don't follow laws or judgments.
Right.
But yeah, start there. Start there. Start there.
Mm-hmm. And then we got people. See now, y'all strong black women. Y'all are some powerful people. That's why they've been calling for y'all
We ain't going.
because they know because they know y'all get stuff done, but yet they wouldn't vote for one for president.
Right. Which is exactly why we
Make
not
that
going.
right. Make that make sense. They know y'all get stuff done, stuff that's needed. They know y'all do it, but yet, oh no, thank you. No, thank you. We're going to go with this man that's a bully, this man that lies, this man that's responsible for 1.2 million people's lives, this man that took secret documents and lied about classified documents and lied about having them. He said he didn't have them. He returned everything. They had to raid his place to get them. Yeah, the man that pardoned how many criminals that attacked police officers and he called them hostages.
All I'm gonna say to
Yeah,
that, all I'm gonna say to that is when I hear the word ghetto, his face comes up
yeah.
because if there was ever a poster boy for ghetto,
Hmm. And Thug, yeah.
leaving classified documents in your bathroom,
Hmm.
I don't care what anybody says. To me, that is the epitome of the word. I don't ever want to see no black person photo next to the, I don't ever want to see us associated with that word because all of the stuff
Hmm.
that he has done, letting the kid wipe boogers on the Oval Office desk, as I said, I've got so many examples of just, yeah, I don't, I don't associate that word anymore the way society would have me to associate it. I look at his whole entire presidency as jihad, the
Hmm.
whole thing, the whole
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the caliber of people that he is putting to lead, to speak, to represent, also,
Hmm.
also. Um, the other thing I will say about Black women and leading, I don't think people understand how much America, how religious America still is. And when I say how religious we still are, there is a great portion of America, doesn't matter the ethnicity or gender,
Hmm.
there's a great portion of America religiously that believes that it is against God to have a woman rule, to have a woman be number one. She could be number two, She could be the assistant, she could be the secretary. But number one, they actually believe that that is against nature for a woman to be number one.
And see, I have to when they do that, the Testament, I can. That's Yahweh. She was the ruler actually, because the judges came before kings, and she was over the armies, plural, all the armies of Israel. Who are these armies? These armies were men, and her chief, a man, Barak, he was her right hand guy,
But they don't,
like
I mean,
the vice president, if you will.
and
And
here's the
he
thing,
wouldn't. He.
but here's the thing, those same
Mhm.
religious people don't read.
Mhm.
So trying to convince them with scriptural text is not
Mhm.
going to help because they don't read. They don't read. And so you're like,
Mhm.
oh, but it's right here. And they're like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
Mhm.
My spiritual leader told me it's wrong, so I don't care.
Ooh. 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 Ooh.
I'm
Yeah. You
serious.
you just hit it. You just listen.
So if their
I had a.
spiritual leader has convinced them that women cannot lead, that it is against God's will for a woman to be quote unquote head over a man, because that's often the phrasing they use,
Mhm.
okay? They apply that from the marital standpoint and they spread it right over into leadership.
Mhm.
And then again, you have a huge swath of Americans that believe that. I'm
Mhm.
like, now there are other countries who Americans look down upon who have had women presidents.
Mhm.
Did you hear about those women presidents leading their country into disaster?
Never. Not a one.
So we have
Not a one.
evidence. So we have evidence that women leadership in the world works. That when women
Mhm.
leading, nations tend to be more peaceful. We have evidence of
Mhm.
this, and we say, or we have said, that we wanted a better, peaceful nation, and yet we chose twice the person of chaos. And then people
Mhm.
are shocked that chaos is happening. Make it make sense. Whew. That's why I call it the dumbacity and the dumbosity, the monstrosity of dumbness and the audacity of dumbness. What in the entire world?
Yeah.
What in the entire world?
Mm. Well, listen. You said something about they don't read, and I'm gonna tell you this because you know how people like to say, "Well, you're not supposed to judge when there are scriptures actually telling us to
Hmm,
judge."
hmm, hmm,
You know, like the one that says, "Don't judge rightly
hmm,
or
hmm, hmm.
righteously." Yeah. So somebody will say, "Well, you're not supposed to judge." I say, "Yes, we are." I say, "And Scripture tells us to." "Oh, you're crazy." I I downloaded the scriptures, and that was my response. I say, "Now you need to start studying for yourself and stop depending on what your leader is teaching." I say, because either he ain't studying or he don't want to teach you the truth. It's just that simple. How did I know those scriptures? Oh, because I studied. And
And
I
let's
just
go
happened to come across those scriptures.
and let's go one further because this is what my grandmother told me who she had been studying the scriptures since she was 13. She passed away at 99. She said, if you haven't seen it yet, just say you haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But some of us be loud and wrong, very loud
Mm-hmm.
and very wrong. Just say
Mm-hmm.
you haven't seen it yet. Just say you haven't looked at the translation. Just say that. Just say I'm not sure, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll look again. And for goodness sake, please read more than one text.
Mm.
And another one. And for goodness sake, please read to the end of the section. Don't just take one verse.
Mm-hmm.
Start at the top.
Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Start
How
at the
about
top.
how
Get to the
how about
end,
starting at
and then
how
read it
about
in
starting
context.
yeah, how about starting at the beginning of the chapter? And sometimes you may have to go to chapter before that to get
Uh-huh.
the
Uh-huh.
understanding of that next chapter, and then read the chapter after so you get everything in context. You take one scripture, you can make it say anything you want it to say.
Yes, you can. And that's how they were designed. They were designed to appease more than one political thought at the time. So if your pastor hadn't told you that, I'm gonna need your pastor to go back and tell you that.
Hmm.
You can pull any scripture and make it say whatever you want it to say because that is the way that particular Bible was constructed for it to read, to agree with various viewpoints because the
Hmm.
King James was trying to appease various viewpoints of the people who were at the table deciding how to construct the text.
Hmm.
And I'm going to do you even one more better as we close. Go and get the Bible that is actually in chronological order. It's called the Chronological Bible. Go get that one.
You're gonna mess some people up.
Go
You
get
about
that
to
one.
mess some people.
Go get
You
that
about to
one where the
mess.
text is actually put in order of the time periods in which they were supposedly came out of.
You know when I found out? I this book that I studied, it was called Learning the Bible in 30 Days or something like that.
Mm-hmm,
And they had everything. They let you know what was happening at the same time.
mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm,
basically had you studying it in chronological order.
mm-hmm,
Not the way they got, because they got it done in history, they got it done in poems, they got it done in prophecy, they got and all this stuff, and it's all over the place.
mm-hmm,
Chronological order, you see the progression. You actually literally see the progression, the way things happen, and what was happening at the same time. See, so you finna mess some people, especially those King James people. You about to their minds are gonna explode.
I'm just saying.
But they probably wouldn't do
I
it anyway
mean,
because it ain't the King James version.
you're talking to a person who I have like 30 different translations of the Bible, physical, because that's how I look at text when I study. And so, yeah, it's fun.
Hmm.
And I'll do you even one better. Go get the Hebrew Greek study Bible. Now again, you don't have to go buy all of these Bibles. You can actually check some of them out from the library. Some of the libraries have Bibles in the section 200. Go to the section 200 religious studies and go get you check some out. The Hebrew Greek study Bible, where it literally translates word for word what you've been reading. It does the translation for you. So you don't have to, you can get a Strong's if you want, but if you get the Hebrew Greek study Bible, all the words are translated as they should have been. So you can actually see what some of these texts actually say, not what your favorite preachers say they say. I'm just saying. And when you get done with that, make sure you get a Quran and you learn what they are saying. Okay, pick up some other texts. Why? Pick up some other texts. Okay, I'm done bothering people for today. Pick up some other texts. A lot of people are teaching that. And guess who's getting mad? The Christians. The Christians. Here's the thing. If I'm trying to walk in the way of Christ, I'm not mad when somebody's pointing out I'm not walking in the way. It's called make an adjustment. Why are you upset? Why are you upset? There's no reason to be upset. As long as you are human and you're desiring to walk in the way, you're desiring to do what is right, what is truthful, what is just, what is merciful, what is gracious, what is kind. You're going to have days when you don't do that well. So I give myself grace. You right. You right. I wasn't Christ-like today. I wasn't Christ-like in that moment. I wasn't Christ-like in my speech. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't Christ-like in my actions or behavior. But I ask for the grace to adjust. And I make the adjustment. I don't double down and deny. Okay? I don't double down and deny. I make the adjustment. And if I'm doing that every single day, I guarantee if you're doing those adjustments every single day, you're not going to have to tell people you're a Christ follower because it's going to show in your demeanor. It's going to show in your behavior. The other day on my
Mm-hmm.
page, somebody was doing the angry reacts, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
asked the person to not angry react. And they came through to say, oh, I'm not angry at you. I'm just making da 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 da, right? Two other people
Mm-hmm.
who don't know me personally came to my defense and said, what part of what she asked you to do did you not understand? And they laid it out explanation wise so beautifully that I didn't have to say a word. I didn't have to say a word. And they didn't cuss the person out. Why? Because they know that's not the language that I use to address people. And I just sat back
Mm-hmm.
and I read and I was like, who are these people? Now that makes me want to go know you because you've been in my
Mm-hmm.
space long enough to know how I respond to people, the language that I use with people, even when people are getting on my last toenail, okay? I still don't go off on them. Why? Because God does not go off on me when I get on his last celestial toenail. That's why I don't do it. He said, the same grace I've given to you, I want you to go out and give to others. So if we are actually truly practicing that, people will see it in how we deal with other people.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me you're in a love relationship with God and everything off of your tongue is vitriol, anger, bitterness, malice. You can't tell me you're in a love relationship with God. I'm not buying it. And neither is anyone else. So if we are who we say we are, Christ followers, then people will start to see that in our demeanor, in our actions, in our behavior. People who know me know that I could go really, really hard in the criticism area of what I see happening in this country. I just don't do it. I could.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't do it. Why? Because I'm operating under a different spirit. That's all. I'm not better than anybody else. I've just chosen to try to live my life in a way that honors God. It ain't going to honor God for me to rip you apart online. It ain't. It might make me very satisfied to do so. I might get great joy from it. It might make me feel better for a couple of minutes. But guess who I'm gonna have to deal with when I get done ripping you up? Guess who I'm gonna have to deal with? My creator, who's gonna say, now you know that was wrong. You know you was dead wrong for
Mm-hmm.
everything you said. Go back and apologize and do some repair. So if
Mm-hmm.
you haven't had those experiences yet, where your creator or your consciousness is calling you to a place of right action and behavior with other people, keep living. Keep living. It'll happen. Final thoughts, because I know we're over time. Final thoughts.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we again, as we stand still, what else? Because as Scripture says, those are right before our eyes. Who's fighting a battle right now? They are. Against who? There are other people.
Yep. I will say this in closing myself. When you allow Black people wellness, when you allow them to pursue wellness, everything around them gets well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you want the nation to continue to move toward health, allow Black people to deal with their health and their wellness. As we deal with our health and our wellness, everything around us benefits from that health and wellness. We don't just look at the inventions. Just start there. Start with our inventions, because our inventions didn't just benefit us. They spread the health, they spread the wealth, they spread the wellness. So we don't have time to go into all that today, but it's a principle. When Black people are focused on their health, their wellness, and well-being, it spreads out and benefits everybody else. So when you see Black people doing what it takes to maintain and keep joy, that's not the time to get upset that they're maintaining and keeping joy. That's the time to recognize that when Black people flow in their wellness, it benefits everybody else. So just understand that. All right. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host today, Shantae Charles. I do want to thank you for your time and attention. Thank you for those who stopped in, tuned in, who come back, catch the rest of the broadcast, all those good things. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness. So continue to go out and be what, Pastor Ben?
Light.
Light. Remember, March 28th on Black Table Talk Facebook page at 12 p.m. We are doing our mutual aid. So you must have Cash App to participate in that. Um, we're looking at the first 10 people that drops their Cash Apps. We will distribute financially. And then if we have more funds after that, we will keep going until the funds run out. All right. Also, next Tuesday, we're going to be doing karaoke on Black Table Talk page. I'll be doing a little bit of karaoke. I'll be singing some songs that empower. I think I'm going to run that through. I think I'm going to run it through StreamYard just so I can put the lyrics up. So if people want to sing along, they can sing along to the songs that empower. All right. Thank you again for your time and attention. Take care and be well.